We're cutting in with breaking news of more protests in downtown Austin. A wave of anti-immigration enforcement protests started in Los Angeles earlier this month. The movement has spread to Austin, and tonight a group called No Kings organized an anti-Trump rally at the state capitol. This evening, lawmakers planning on attending tonight's protests in Austin were warned by the Department of Public Safety of a credible threat reportedly made against them. State Capitol and grounds were evacuated around 1 this afternoon as a precaution. The grounds were reopened at around 4 o'clock this evening. Fox 7 Austin's Rudy Koski joins us live from downtown Austin right now with what's going on. Rudy, what are you seeing? What are you hearing?
Hi, Meredith. Yeah, we've got a nice crowd here in front of the south steps of the state capitol at this hour. You know, things got off to a kind of like a bad start. That you can go around me. Go ahead. Yeah, a lot of news crews here too. It got off to a bad start with that news of the credible threat and the evacuation of the state capitol and the capitol grounds, and then we're wondering whether or not this rally that's going on right now behind me will actually happen. But as we can show you right now, we'll lift up and show you the crowd that's here on the south steps of the capitol. You know, there was a brass band that was playing about 15 minutes ago. They just wrapped up and moved off to the side, but it has a Mardi Gras vibe to it right now, and more of a festival feel than a protest or even a rally. In regards to the size, you know, we've had, before the pandemic, we've had much larger groups show up here at the Capitol, specifically during the big abortion debates and also the big education debates that were going on at the time pre-pandemic. But nonetheless, it is a nice size crowd that is here right now, and everyone seems to be in a good mood. Now, in the peripheral around the group here, there is a heavy presence of state police, DPS troopers. We haven't seen any deployment of any National Guard members, but we saw the DPS mounted unit that is staging just off the Capitol grounds in case that they're needed. But right now, authorities just seem to be letting everyone just, voice their opinions. Oh, you're fine. Go ahead. Walk in front. Voice their opinions and make, as they said right over here, peaceful protest. Hey, let me ask you a real good question. You know, why be here today? Why was it important for you to be here?
I think you gotta, look at all these people. They agree with each other, sort of a solidarity. Does it make a difference? I'm not sure if, I've done this thing a lot of times in my life, but if a young person comes here, gets motivated, start registering voters, run for office, all that sort of thing. These sorts of things can be life-changing for people.
Are you pleased with the vibe? I described it as a Mardi Gras kind of feel. More of a party than a rally or a protest.
Yeah.
Are you satisfied? Things can change, certainly, but are you satisfied with the vibe that you're feeling right now?
Oh, yeah, it's incredible. You got drummers, you got people with funny signs. There is a certain party atmosphere to it, and that's how it should be. We want it to be peaceful. We want people to be able to say what they need, speak truth to power and all that kind of good stuff.
That's right. And voice your concern. Yeah. Just do it peacefully. Thank you very much for talking to me. Appreciate it. All right, so things are, Meredith, right now, basically getting started with this protest / rally / party that's going on. Back to you in the studio.
Yeah, hey Rudy, you were at a press conference with city leaders earlier this week. They were talking about APD being prepared in case something does go awry. Talk to me about what city leaders say they were ready for.
The city right now is set up in just like DPS and the troopers off in the perimeter. But in talking with the news conference that we had with Chief Lisa Davis, her philosophy is dialogue policing, and what that means is that she wants to have law enforcement officers embedded in uniform into the crowd, talking to the crowd, talking to the organizers before the event started, and then even as the event's going on, she wants that dialogue to continue with law enforcement officers that are here at at that time. So we noticed that, but they also said, Chief Davis also made it very, very clear that they will be looking for agitators and that they will try to do surgical removals, going in, grabbing that agitator, pulling that individual out. The key to that is how will the crowd react? And you know, we've seen in other cities individuals get agitated, get upset, and actually try to confront the law enforcement officers trying to get that bad actor out. So hopefully that will not happen if they have to go and do that type of move. But right now we'll keep our fingers crossed. A lot of food's coming in like that right there, and we saw a load of white doves. That cages of white doves that were brought in, so we're going to have some type of white dove peace symbolic release at some point in time during this event that's happening here. But in regards to law enforcement, it's a wait and respond when you have to, and go back to wait. Meredith?
Yeah, Rudy, you mentioned this earlier, but we didn't know if this protest was going to happen on the Capitol grounds because a lot was happening. There was a threat that was made, and it was closed off. So it looks like obviously people have trickled in now, but you were trying to confirm with people about where this was going to be if it wasn't going to be at the Capitol. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, that was a real concern because of this threat, and DPS referring to it as a credible threat against individual state lawmakers who were planning on being here at this event. And according to the Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, state lawmakers who were going to be here were apparently targeted by this individual that had made it a credible threat. We're seeing reports that an individual has been detained, but because of that threat, officials at DPS told me that they would not open up the Capitol grounds and no, I'd let you open up the Capitol grounds until the threat was resolved, neutralized was the word that was used, and apparently that threat has been resolved, and that's a good thing because there was a concern, where was this group going to go? There was really no other place for them to go other than to overflow into the roadways, onto Congress Avenue, onto 11th, onto 10th. And that would have been problematic for APD, and it would have been interesting to see how APD was going to handle that situation. Thankfully, we didn't get to that situation. But as of right now, the game plan for APD is to wait on the peripheral, and when this rally, protest, party breaks up and everyone starts leaving, then APD will provide escorts if needed, and make sure that everyone leaves safely. It'd almost be like a crowd control situation after a large Longhorn football game or basketball game or a big concert at the formerly known Irwin Center, now Moody Center. So I think that that's what we're going to see in phases right now. DPS just holding on the peripheral. And I think we had a moment of silence. Yeah, and I think they just said they're having some chicken dancers that are going to kick us off here. And that's going to be pretty interesting. Again, Mardi Gras type vibe, which is, is a good way to get your message across instead of, fighting and setting things on fire. Having a party, getting your message across, having your say, and that's what it's all about, right, Meredith?
All right, Rudy. Yeah, you enjoy it, and we're going to continue to take a look at that protest that is happening behind you. Again, the protest is expected to go on until 8 o'clock on the Capitol grounds, and the Capitol itself, it was closed at 4 o'clock this evening. Several local leaders, including Congressman Greg Abbott, State Rep John Busey, were scheduled to speak. Texas DPS told us a credible threat was made to possibly kill members of the Texas legislature at the Capitol tonight, so it's unclear if those people will be speaking. But Austin City leaders, police chief have told us that they're ready, prepared for this protest. APD Chief Davis says bike patrols, mounted patrols, air units will be monitoring the demonstrations. They'll be working closely with DPS who are at the Capitol. And Mayor Kirk Watson and Police Chief Lisa Davis has said that they support peaceful protests. They will not tolerate property destruction. We're going to go ahead and take a listen at what is going on right now.
It's my first time speaking publicly. I was nervous, but I am not nervous now because I am speaking to my friends, my family, and my neighbors. arrived here today. This is not business as usual. This is business under fascism. Up to $45 million of our taxpayer money is being spent right now on the president's birthday celebration. Let's hear that again. Is that proper use of our taxpayer dollars? Hell no! It is not enough for the ultra wealthy to hoard the resources. They want to take what little we have is left as well and paint Trump as a king and us as his peasants. Are we peasants? I said, are we peasants? The people who swore to protect us have been corrupted by greed and turned American politics into a circus for their own personal gain. Both sides have failed us. The system is severely flawed. Lawmakers getting rich off stocks of companies that actively harm the American people. Marjorie Taylor Greene, we are looking at you. There are only a handful of people left in our government that seem to remember the oath they took. We cannot rely on them to save us. We must link arms and save ourselves. Do y'all remember the first protest when I made y'all do? I want to take the next 30 seconds and I want you to say hello to someone you've never met before in the crowd.
All right, we'll check back in with the protesters at the state capitol shortly, but here's a live look at the protests happening today in San Antonio. This protest started at around 11 this morning in downtown San Antonio. This comes after hundreds marched through downtown on Wednesday night. That night, two separate protests, one near the Alamo and the other outside City Hall. They merged into a single demonstration that lasted for about 4 hours. And so let's take a live look about see what's happening in San Antonio. Looks like people are making signs there, a lot of signs, and different signs, hands off. We see a mixture of the American flag and the Mexican flag, and that is a look at San Antonio at this moment. Looks like a helicopter is hovering over as well. And this is what was happening moments ago in Los Angeles. Protests are entering their 8th day there. Demonstrations have spread across parts of Southern California, where federal agents conducted immigration raids and carried out arrests. Demonstrators continue to express their frustration with the Trump administration. And this was the scene in Houston today, where an estimated 26,000 people took to the streets, marching in downtown Houston, starting at Houston City Hall. Take a look.
What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. What do we want? Justice. When do we want?
Puts us back in the middle class. All the things.
All right, and here's Dallas. Dallas residents woke up early to protest as well, where an estimated 10,000 protesters marched. Here's a look at what was happening in Dallas earlier today. And let's take a look at New York. Protesters in New York today braced the rain to participate in No King's Day. NYPD was forced to shut down several streets due to the sheer volume of protesters walking the streets there. This is a look at a rainy day in New York. And while protests continue to break out nationwide, this is a live look over Washington. This is the president. We're looking at the president. And we've got Washington, D.C., where the Army's 250th anniversary parade is underway.
Melody entitled "The Army Goes Rolling Along." This was actually written in 1908 by the then Lieutenant Edmund Louis Snitz Gruber, which was a descendant of Franz Gruber, who composed Silent Night. It was originally written to be the 5th Artillery Regimental song titled "The Caissons Go Rolling Along," and in 1956 the lyrics were revised by Harold Arberg as the official song of the U.S. Army, and then retitled "The Army Goes Rolling Along." Pershing's Own carries on its century-old legacy, playing a march that brings pride to every soldier. The Army Song. The 3rd Infantry Regiment is the oldest active duty unit in the U.S. Army. Established back in 1784, the unit was dubbed the Old Guard by Major General Winfield Scott during a victory parade in Mexico City after the Mexican War. It is the U.S. Army's official ceremonial unit and presidential escort, conducting year-round tactical training to ensure the highest standards and utmost discipline of its soldiers. The unit routinely represents the U.S. Army and our nation in official ceremonies, major sporting events, and their own, the U.S. Army's own Twilight Tattoo. The Old Guard also maintains 24-hour vigil of the tomb of the unknown soldier, while also conducting funeral services honoring our fallen heroes in Arlington National Cemetery. The regiment's 50 campaign streamer stand is a testament to its long, faithful service to our nation. Ladies and gentlemen, the 3rd Infantry Regiment, the Old Guard. In 1775, the shot heard round the world at Lexington and Concord sparked a revolution, uniting 13 colonies and forging a continental army from farmers and frontiersmen. Against the odds, they turned the tide at Trenton and Saratoga, survived Valley Forge, and at Yorktown forced a British surrender, securing independence and giving birth to the United States of America. Before radios and field phones, sound was the signal. In the Continental Army, fifes and drums carried commands across the chaos of battle, telling soldiers when to advance, when to retreat, eat, even when to rest. That legacy actually lives on today with the U.S. Army Fife and Drum Corps, part of the 3rd Infantry Regiment known as the Old Guard. Founded back in 1960, they're the only unit of their kind in the armed forces. performing in uniforms patterned after those worn by General Washington's musicians. Playing period instruments with patriotic precision, they bring history to life, sharing the sound and spirit of the Revolution through more than 500 performances each year, both at home and around the world too. The Old Guard Fife and Drum Corps, everybody. And now, from high above, ladies and gentlemen, celebrating 250 years, your United States Army parachute team.
This is a live look of the
Knights.
Army's 250th anniversary parade underway. The Army parade is set to kick off. It's within just a couple of minutes, and you can see the President, Donald Trump, and First Lady Melania Trump coming together in the nation's capital. The $45 million parade happens to fall on the President's 79th birthday. We've got service members from across the U.S. They made the trek to the nation's capital to get in on the celebrations. This all comes as just outside the opening ceremony for the parade, protesters are taking to the streets of D.C. to protest the Trump administration.
Fort Sumter in 1861, a nation divided. Over 4 brutal years, nearly 2 million soldiers fought to preserve the Union. Among them, 5 future presidents and the first recipients of a brand new military decoration, the Medal of Honor. With independence won, our nation's westward expansion began. The Army moved in step, guarding settlers as Native Scouts lit the way. Immigrants joined the cause, and the Buffalo Soldiers etched a legacy of grit and honor across the American frontier. As they march by, a soldier's uniform signals their duty, their role, and their readiness. And by the late 1850s, official regulations outlined distinct looks, shaping the Army's identity and function across the force. Soldiers were issued 2 coats. One, a short sack coat for work and battle, with brass buttons and colored trim that marked their rank. Well, by war's end, that rugged sack coat became the soldier's uniform of choice. As the war escalated, volunteer enlistment surged. Congress authorized support for a force of up to 500,000 new troops, answering the call to preserve the Union. As they march by, representing the Civil War era of our nation's history, is the 4th Infantry Division based out of Fort Carson, Colorado.
And this is happening now in Chicago. You can see what looks like a standoff is starting to form between demonstrators and law enforcement. We're not sure if there have been any arrests made here in Chicago yet, but protesters are set to gather outside the Trump Tower in Chicago in minutes to express their discontent with the administration. Several downtown Chicago streets have been shut down as a result. Separate protests erupted earlier in the day in response to escalating violence between Israel and Iran. We're going to go ahead and take a break, and we'll be right back with more on these protests and what's happening across the country. We'll be right back. A protest on the state capitol grounds is happening right now. It's the largest protest in Austin since Monday. Monday night, anti-ICE protesters gathered at the Texas Capitol. They were mostly peaceful until demonstrators marched to the J.J. Pickle Federal Building in downtown Austin. There, a group of protesters had a confrontation with police and DPS. They later got combative with authorities near the intersection of 7th and Congress. Tear gas, pepper balls were used to disperse the crowd. 4 officers were hurt, with 3 of the injuries caused by rocks. APD arrested 8 people. The charges include criminal mischief, resisting arrest, and interfering. Another 5 were arrested by DPS. Arrest papers say some protesters in Austin were spray painting a hotel. They refused to clear the streets when the protest was over. 2 were arrested for not dispersing, and 1 even, like I said, spit in the eye of an officer. Many of those who were arrested by APD have bonded out. A couple have had their cases dismissed, while the rest face charges. And all but 1 of the 5 arrested by DPS are out on bail. And a repeat performance of what happened Monday is something APD Chief Lisa Davis wants to avoid. She says APD will respect the right to protest, but warned organizers the department will not tolerate violence. APD is fully staffed today. We also expect DPS to be on alert around the Capitol and near state office buildings. Chief Davis told Fox 7 she has a pre-protest plan, but that plan doesn't include requesting extra manpower from surrounding police departments, as APD has done in the past.
It is us, and DPS will certainly help. They have their own area of responsibility to look at, and then we'll be working cooperatively with them as well. Also using dialogue policing. Dialogue policing is something you're going to see officers dressed like me, but they'll have a lighter colored vest over their uniform. They will be in the crowd talking with people that are there for the protest. The goal is to make contact with people that are there before the actual protest, if we know who they are. Otherwise, we're going to be in the crowd kind of talking about what are the rules for peacefully protesting. What does that look like? And then I think that also gives them an opportunity, people that are planning these protests, most of them don't want the agitators in the crowd. And so when they are recognizing that that's what this is becoming, it gives them an opportunity to reach out to the officers in the dialogue policing, and we can go have those bad actors removed immediately.
And APD no longer uses beanbag shotgun rounds after they caused injuries during the protests in 2020. Following those protests, Travis County DA Jose Garza indicted 21 police officers. Garza later dropped 17 of those indictments. And in solidarity with LA protests, anti-ICE protests have been taking place across the state. This is video from the protests Monday night over the Trinity River in Dallas. Dozens of people gathered holding signs, waving flags to demonstrate against the Trump administration's immigration crackdown. An immigration attorney says previous presidential administrations have contributed to what he calls a broken immigration system. However, attorneys are now seeing a different strategy from the current administration.